Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici, welcome my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to my channel, and that channel is Fountain Pen Therapy. It's been some time since I've been doing ink reviews in my recaps. It's a regular segment in my weekly recaps where I review some of either new inks that come in or inks in my collection. I've got 500-600 bottles. I've got plenty there to share with you. But I once in a while, I think I'm going to go back to the old ways, which is to publish an independent video, a little bit longer, having a little more substance, and comparing inks, etc., etc. And usually, I think that's appropriate when we have a collection that's in terms of numbers is a reasonable size, and that's what I've got to offer you in this video. So without any further ado, Fountain Pen Therapy presents a review of 4 inks in the collection of the Pacific Pen Chalet collection, and I think they're great inks, so stay tuned. So we're back with the inks. I've set up, basically, let's first take a look at these inks. First of all, the inks are part of the, what is referred to as the World Ocean Collection under Van Dieman's website. And I guess this is probably the first series, and it's Pacific. And it's a special collaboration with Pen Chalet. So you see here Van Dieman's Pen Chalet Pacific. So that's the Pacific Ocean collection. We have Polynesian Hibiscus, which appears to be a standard ink. We have Pacifica MOANA Nui, which is a shimmering ink. We have Giant Pacific Octopus, again, appearing to be a standard ink. And then we have another shimmering ink by the name of Ring of Ember. So those are the rings. Those are the inks. Now, in terms of paper, what I've done here is I've set up 4 different types of paper. This is Midori. This is Tomoe River Original. This is Iroful. And this is your Rhodia paper. So we've got 4 different types of paper that we will be testing this ink on. Now, I could have added many more, but I think these are kind of 4 very popular brands, so we'll take it from there. The first thing we will do is take a look at Polynesian Hibiscus, but before we do that, just a few words on the tools that I use. For the swatching itself, if you are the first time that you join my channel, this is what I use. I have weekly recaps where I review inks every week, every Sunday, and this is the tool that I use to swatch the inks, which is a folded pen, and I will leave down in the description where you can purchase similar tools. The second thing is that I use a Sailor Okoro with the feed. Very important, because they do sell them, or they used to sell them without the feed, and then they don't retain much ink. And this is a 1.0, so it's a stub. So those are essentially the tools that I use. Now, the first ink, a little bit about Polynesian hibiscus. When I take a look at the site, and I'm just looking at notes here, it talks about, it's described as a bright, joyful, and unmistakably tropical Polynesian hibiscus celebrates the vivid color found along Pacific Island shores. It's a saturated crimson pink, which dominates the ink itself, with a subtle golden sheen emerging where the ink pools and edges. So that's what we should be expecting. So it's an expressive ink. So without any further ado, let's attack this. Give it a little shake. They're well sealed. So that's the Midori. That's the Tomeo River. This is the Aerofol. And that is the Rhodia. So those are the swatches, and now we'll just write. We know it's Van Dieman's, so this is Polynesian hibiscus. Okay, so that's one. Just close the bottle before I spill things. We'll do a shimmering ink next, which is the Ka Moana Nui. Now, what is that? Let me just see how it's described on the website. It's named from the Hawaiian phrase, the great ocean. The ink reflects open water stretching beyond the horizon, where light dances across rolling swells and depth, reveals itself in layered blues. It's a luminous turquoise base with silver gold shimmer. So let's see, let's check this up. I could see the silver gold shimmer just getting all nice and trying to be careful, folks. I usually spill something, typically, but so far so good. Let's hope I haven't jinxed it. Okay. So, we'll do some writing. Again, Ka Moana Nui. Well, that certainly is an interesting ink. The real test, of course, is how it reacts in a pen, and if it keeps its flow. The next one is the giant Pacific octopus. So if I go on the website once again and I look for octopus and I go down to the description of the ink, inspired by one of the Pacific's most intelligent and enigmatic inhabitants, giant Pacific octopus is an ink of shadow movement and subtle complexity. It's a muted mauve, purple-gray base, revealing cooler blue undertones and warmer plum notes as it dries. So let's take a look at this one. I love Van Dieman's, you know. First of all, they have a great bottle, unlike Ferris wheel. I don't know what they're waiting for to develop a decent bottle with a decent opening. It would make their pens, in my view, so much better, or their inks. Certainly it'd get me to buy more. I stopped purchasing them. I have quite a few, but Van Dieman's remains my favorite. And by the way, if you're interested in these inks, I have a discount code down in the description that would give you, I believe, 10%, and I think it's still active. I've had it for many years. Last I checked, it is still an active discount code. Okay, so this is, I'm just going to put octopus. Okay, well, I knew I'd get inked up eventually. So my fingers are starting to. Okay, next. Okay, if we go to the website, the fourth ink is the Ring of Ember, and it's described as Ring of Ember draws its inspiration from the Pacific Ring of Fire, where tectonic plates meet and volcanic energy shapes the ocean floor. It's a deep, ruddy red base infused with a rich copper shimmer that blooms in heavier applications. So, Ring of Ember, here we go. You can see it, so we'll shake it up. Okay. Here we go. Nice rich color, I can tell you that. Here we go. I think these folded pens work magic because they are made out of metal, so it's better, I think, better than a Q-tip. So Ring of Ember. And I'm just going to add here, so we don't, actually I will add it at the top later. The paper, that's what I'm going to add once all of this is dry. Speaking of which, let's get this to dry up nicely, and then we'll come back and take a look at the comparison, take a look at how the paper is reacting on the flip side, whether or not there's any feathering, whether it bleed through, if its sheen is shown, and if so, on which paper, etc., etc. We will be right back. Okay, so we're back, and we're going to take a closer look now just to see what the results are. The rhodia on the Polynesian hibiscus, the burgundy, you can see that there's pretty flat as compared to the others. There is some shading, but the sheen really appears on the three others. And the Midori is the one that has the more intense color, I would say, along with Hero Full, and then the third one is Tomoe River, which really is in line with the way these different papers are theoretically are supposed to perform. I'm very surprised with the light blue with rhodia. But that's really, I think, a function of more the way the paper is shining. It's bent a little bit, so against the light. But it's surprising me that the shimmer is coming through really nicely on the rhodia. There's very little sheen and very little shading, but I would say it's pretty equal when it comes to that turquoise. Pretty equal. Very nice. That's a nice ink. Let's just hope that when we put it in pens, it doesn't block the pens or the flow. The octopus, I started to see both with the blue, the octopus, the violet here, and the ring of ember, a little bit of feathering on the rhodia, which is not good news. Means the ink doesn't like rhodia. Very intense here, more intense than the other two. These are pretty much equivalent. You can see some sheen and some shading as well. So that's the octopus. This is a type of ink that I think looks better when you write with it than when you swatch it. When you swatch it, it's kind of a little bit diluted, a little bit light, not punchy. But I've got a feeling that when you put it in a pen, it will react quite differently. Here you have, again, the shimmer is coming through on the rhodia, but there is some feathering. Pretty equivalent. I think there's a little more gold on these two than there is, and there's a little more red on the first two. But there you have it. In terms of what it looks like on the other side, let's just flip the swatches around just to see how things... well, you can definitely see bleed through with the rhodia, which is not good news, but you don't see it. Actually, you don't see the bleed through, just a tiny bit here with the writing, which is okay. You can see some, a little more ghosting, but even a little bit of bleed through, just a couple of dots here. The other three are reacting as predicted. The Midori is a thicker paper, so there's less ghosting there. But fairly good. Hero Full, the red amber, just a tiny little bit of bleed through, but the same thing with the Tomoe River. But the Midori is holding up, I guess, the best of all three. So there you have the results. So I think the best thing to do now is to actually put these inks in some pens and see how they perform with a real fountain pen nib. We'll be right back. Okay, so we're back for the writing samples. Let me just, those are my weapons. As you can see, we're just going to close up a little more. Let's start with, actually go with the order that they appear on the swatching. So, first of all, the paper I'm using is Tomoe River Original, okay? Okay, the first one, I've got this is a Rosetta pen. Rosetta with a Rosetta, it's basically a Yowo 1.5 stub. So, first one. Van Dieman's Polynesian hibiscus. The nib is a Yowo number 6 steel 1.5 stub. And this ink is just gorgeous. Nice and wet. Very intense. Just a little bit shy of Yamabudo, I would say to you. Yamabudo's got a little more sheen and a little more variation but we'll see what it looks like once it's dry. Next on my list is just to show you the nib is a Kegeloo medium nib. On this pen, by the way, I think that blue ink just works out beautifully. It's got some of that silver chatoyancy. Okay, so we have Van Dieman's MOANA, I guess it is. Nui. And this is a Kegeloo. Great nibs, folks. Number 6 steel. And it's a medium. Yeah, this ink has got some potential, boys. Oh yeah. If it could just not clog the pens, we're in business. Okay, so that's Van Dieman's. What have we got next? We've got the OCTOPUS next. Again, this is another Kegeloo pen with a Kegeloo nib, medium again. This is Van Dieman's. This is the ink I think should look better from an actual pen. Well, certainly, so it's Giant Pacific OCTOPUS. Certainly darker, and there's a little more shading. And once again, it's the Kegeloo number 6 steel, and it's a medium. Yeah, it's kind of a dark, washed out, grayish purple or violet, if you will. Yeah, it's a little darker, but you could still see some of the shading in the ink. And last but not least is my ring of Ember, and it's in this brown pen. And this again is the Kegeloo. Van Dieman's ring of Ember. Hold on, folks. This nib is scratchy. Be right back. Hopefully the problem can be easily fixed with a little bit of micro mesh. We'll see. Again, yeah, there we go. Kegeloo number 6 steel is a medium. It still needs a little more work, but it'll do for this purpose. Right there, my downstroke is a little scratchy. And as a result, the Kegeloo nib is not much of a gusher. It's writing more like a fine. So there you have it. I think all of the inks are reacting and performing fairly well. On the Stillmore River, you will never see, very rarely will you see any feathering, but the inks look pretty nice. On the other side, there's very little bleed through. The typical ghosting that you see on 52 GSM Tomo River, nothing outlandish, if you will. So there you have it. Let me just go a little out here. Those are the weapons we used. That's the writing sample. Very nice inks. Let's conclude. Yeah, so let's conclude. Look, it's Van Dieman's. It's a quality product. 4 nice inks, decently priced. They come in a very nice bottle, not like Ferris wheel press. Good combination. You get 2 standard inks. You got 2 shimmering inks. We'll keep looking. In the subsequent recaps, we'll revisit those weapons that we just inked, just to see how they perform, if they clog, if they dry up. So stay tuned for that. But these are quality products. I suspect that they will perform as expected, so to speak. So there you have it, folks. I hope you enjoyed that. It's some swatching therapy, some ink therapy. Keep on writing and take care of yourselves. Enjoy life. Bye now.